Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Art. And I was very happy to be able to have these two young men during this episode. On my immediate left is Collyn Strother, and my far left is Carlos Tolentino. The reason that I brought both of these young men to the studio to interview is because they're a beautiful mix of involved in the business of art, which we're going to talk about briefly, and they're artists themselves, fine artists. So I didn't feel like I could talk about one without the other, since they're both entrepreneurial, and they're also, Fayetteville, North Carolina is their home base that they're working out of. So I want to talk about the business of art first. And as fine artists, I think we all have to find a way, if we're not making a living through the fine art, we also have to find a way to make a living. And both of these young men have financial responsibilities, so they had to find a way to, generate funds while they're still fine artists. So I met, on my left, immediate left, is Collyn, and my far left is Carlos. So I met Collyn when he was working at the Arts Council in Fayetteville. And he was there for several years, and then he left in 2022. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd already known Carlos's work around town, his paintings. I didn't know him personally, we just passed or spoke briefly, but I also knew your work. And he's going to talk, both of them are going to talk about their works a little bit later. So these two young men, these two artists, came together around 2022 or a little before. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How did you meet each other? The Arts Council?
Yeah. So I think our initial, we had mutual friends, right. But our initial, deep down conversation started around 2022 at the Arts Council. Carlos was he's always been an artist, but was diving into things more tangible. So I was seeing past the Arts Council. I knew that he was in the downtown area, right. And I thought he was an amazing artist. Right. So that relationship kind of just sparked from there, just crossing paths. But
you didn't have when did you open your studio? Carlos owns Gallery 13 on Hay Street, and that's where you can see his paintings. And he's also a tattoo artist. So when did you open Gallery 13?
I opened Gallery 13 in 2023.
Okay.
That was last year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Only a year.
Only a year.
Okay. It's a beautiful gallery.
Thank you.
And as I said, they're a team. And so Collyn is the manager of Gallery 13. But Collyn also has his own company, which is
Crew Designs, which is a production company.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a graphic designer as well as photographer. And Carlos is also not only a tattoo artist, but a painter. And you also work with a company in L.A. Mm-hmm. What company is that?
Wise Mind Movement. It's based out of L.A. It's a clothing company, clothing brand.
Right.
And so we have two hubs, whether it be Fayetteville and then in LA.
Right.
So my partners I met here in Fayetteville, but they live in LA.
Right. So I think all of this that we've covered is very important, because as artists in Fayetteville, which is not a metropolitan area, they have created ways to make a living independently. So I think that is important, as well as being an asset to the community, mm-hmm. Being a designer, being an artist, having businesses, and of course they work together collaboratively. And I'd like to hear about that, how you are a team, since it is, you have businesses. Mm-hmm. How do you work together as a team, especially Gallery 13?
Yeah. Do you want to?
So pretty much, I started working with Collyn when he started doing my website, and then
Okay.
I saw how he knew more about that industry, graphic design and all of that. After he did the website, I was like, oh, he really knows. you know, this world that I don't know. I just know how to create the artwork. You know what I
Right.
mean? Also, like the managing side, he's able to keep me on schedule because he works. You know, he has work in that. I just always been more of an artist and doing things on the fly, and
Right.
you know, whatever happens, happens, and I'll make it work. But he's able to keep on a schedule. Hey, we gotta get this done. We have to do this. This is
Yeah.
coming up next. You know, he's the one that makes the vision boards. You know,
Right.
everything. Like, hey, this is what we need to achieve this year. You know, so I needed that,
Right.
and he helps me out a lot with that.
Right.
Yeah, and to add to that, like I said, when we met, I already knew Carlos was like a great artist. So, you know, you could be an artist because that's natural. You know,
Right.
that's something he wakes up every day and he can just go do. Has these talents to go create these
Right.
pieces. So when I heard of like his vision for the gallery, I said, oh man, you know, like, I really think you could do that. So when we, like you said, we started working on the website at first, and then I just realized like, you know, this could be bigger than you even like thought of first. So yeah, we just started building from there. I think we really complimented each other a lot because the things that, you know, he's really great at, you know, I'm working towards those, and
Right.
vice versa. So
Yeah. I want to shift a little, and first of all, I want to make a distinction between commercial art and fine art. I see, and you tell me if you disagree with this, but I see commercial art more as artists that are seeking a wide audience, and works are created for that audience. Whereas, since you both also are fine artists, I see fine art as artists that are creating works that are more personal. They're, you know, they have this impulse to create, but it's not a mass audience they're seeking. I mean, that would be nice,
Yeah.
but, you know, I think they're seeking like presenting works or sharing works, if they do share them, with collectors, with galleries. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I would definitely
A smaller audience.
Yeah, agree with that because I think the commercial work is like you said, for the masses. A lot of that stuff is consumerism. So like when you create, you know, you're creating for a purpose to, like you said, show to a wide audience. But then when we talk about fine art, is those select few that you know are going to appreciate it and really want to know why you do these things,
Right.
or want to know like the technical skills or the story behind it. So I think there is a huge difference in between both of the works that we do, because both of us work for the masses at the same
Right.
time. We have our own practices
Right.
and stuff that we do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I always, you know, every time I create, I just have to create it. So all the pieces that I create, all the originals, like, if I've always said if they sell, but if they don't, like,
Right.
I don't mind sitting there, you know, and that's when, you know, Collyn, you know, helps me out with creating prints that are way more affordable for
Right.
people, you know, things
Yeah.
that I can't do. I created the piece, but I can't put it into tangible things that the masses can now
Right.
get, you know.
Well, I want to share, on my right is one of Carlos's paintings. He's going to talk about his technique, which is very interesting. And on my far left is one of Collyn's fine art photographs. That's stunning as well. So, and that's why we really need to talk about you as business people in the arts, the business of art, as well as fine artists. How do you balance those two? Meaning, you're in the business of art, you have a gallery, you have your design company. How do you balance still being a fine artist and creating works that are, say, that maybe you don't want to share or that are not for, you know, a broader audience? How do you find time to do that?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part is as artists, you know, we always have that itch to create, but on the other side, we have to make a living, or we have to,
Right.
you know, you got to handle your day to day, because if you don't handle your day to day or you don't have the discipline to handle your
Right.
day to day, creating becomes a lot harder because, you know, it takes money, it takes time to do these things. So I think it's finding that balance is the discipline, knowing that you have to do this,
Oh, okay.
but at the same time, like I have to get these things out as well as far as creativity,
Right.
because it's like a balance in the mind that
Right.
you have to have, or
Right.
one's not going to take from the other. So I think it's discipline.
Now, he seems pretty disciplined, and I know you have a family, you have children. So how do you balance it? You're just busy all the time.
It's hard, yeah. It's hard. My day does not stop, you know, from 6 o'clock in the morning till midnight. You know, like
Yeah.
it's a constant, working. You know what I mean? Working with your family, working. But also as an artist, you know, there's also been times where, you know, I've neglected certain things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I've neglected family to be
Right.
where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Right.
For this love that I have for art that I just can't stop doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just you know, it's a gift and a curse. I've always said that it's
Right.
a gift and a curse. Being an artist, it takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you're both very talented, and I really want to talk about your processes, because your processes are different. You know, you're a painter. Well, you're both designers, but you're a painter, you're a graphic designer, you're a photographer. Talk about and share your process, Carlos, with this painting behind me.
Okay,
Am I
so
right?
the bleach paintings is something that I discovered about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, just an accident. I was just adding words to the back of some T-shirts that I had, and I saw somebody on probably on Instagram, you know, using bleach or something. So just doing splatters, and I was like, oh, maybe I can use the bleach to do the words on it. So I did. I saw how the tones change, and then from years of painting, from years of tattooing, from years of drawing, I was like, maybe I can manipulate the bleach into, you know, adding water to it, so I can create these different tones. I did a portrait. That's what I do on a shirt, and it worked, you know. And then from there, I was like, oh, this is something very unique to me now. You know, something that I've pretty much discovered that I'm like pioneer. I was like the first one to do it.
Right.
At the level that I was doing it. So that made me very excited, you know, and I just been working
Now,
towards
I've
it.
seen on your website that you also wear, you have something where you will protect your eyes, and you
Yeah.
also have a mask, a
Yep.
pretty heavy mask,
Yeah.
heavy-duty mask.
Yeah.
Now, when you're working in bleach, are you using a airbrush? Or?
No, I'm using paintbrush.
Okay.
I've seen other guys use the airbrush, but I haven't. You know,
Right.
so that's something I'm very comfortable with the paintbrush, so I paint all the time. You know,
Right.
acrylic oils. So that was just something that I had, and it has worked. You know, I really like the effect that it takes. It still looks like it's painted on.
Now, your pieces, this is a small piece. Like, his paintings are very, very large. 36 by 48, and maybe
Yeah,
even
even
larger.
larger,
4 by
yeah.
5 feet.
Yeah,
They're
7
very
by
large.
7, 9 by 9 feet.
Yeah, very
14
large.
by 16
Yeah.
piece. Yeah.
And you can see these at Gallery 13, which is on Hay Street. Well, I'll get to that in a second. How's the business going in Fayetteville? But, so you continue to be a fine artist.
Yeah.
So talk about that, why you continue with that. And his piece is on the left here,
Yeah.
one of his photographs.
So yeah, this piece is actually a personal piece, which was a collaboration between me and the muse. Her name is Aisha. Real good friend. She's actually an artist as well. She's into fashion. So with the fine art, I mean, it's something like I just do for myself, like self-expression. So
Right.
when I'm looking for like a photo, I'm really trying to like tell a story or play on perspective. A lot of times I do that with color. I
Right.
love like different tones. I also like black and white as well, but
Right.
it's the contrast between the colors that. So yeah, I'm just looking for something that you don't see on the daily. You know, something that if you looked at it, it could all be perceived in a different way.
But both of you, do you see or think or feel differently when you're creating a work that is commercial versus personal, or is it just similar?
For me, I think in my own craft, in the fine art craft, it's very experimental. Where if
Okay.
it's commercial work, I already know like what I'm going for. This
Right.
is the look they're trying to do. So I think that's the difference between creating commercially, because in the back of your mind, you're knowing what you want to do or what's going to be best received. But when you're working for yourself, it can be real experimental.
Right.
You might play with when I'm talking about photography, you might play with a light that didn't quite hit the way you wanted to, so you try it again.
Right.
Or you might switch up the way you have your settings so that you could really get something that just speaks to you.
Right.
It might be perceived by the masses that well, but you know that's something that you really wanted to play
Right.
with. So that's the fun part to me, is the experimenting part.
Carlos, the paintings in your gallery, I mean, I don't really view those as commercial, do you? They seem very personal to me, but just briefly talk about that. Is there a difference for you? Is there a time when you're saying, no, I'm going to paint this because I know I can move this? I know this will be popular, this popular subject, or is it all just you being an artist and creating?
Sometimes, but a lot of the times it's just stuff that I like. I love pop culture, so if it's something popular, like I'm already gonna do it because I want to do it.
Right.
You know? And then if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, then I'll just keep it because everything that I paint, I'm just always loving it. Versus with the tattooing, that's more like the commercial side of me. That I already, I'm just the middleman and whatever. They're paying me to tattoo on them. So I see that as my commercial side versus the artwork. It's just everything's just very personal, and I really guard that. Sometimes I hate doing commissions for paintings.
Right, the commissions. Yeah, that's a big distinction right there.
Yeah.
Would you do this? Okay, yeah. So, since you're all friends, you work together well as businessmen. How do you creatively influence each other in any way?
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we always just talk about, what's the next step? Especially with the gallery, that has a financial backing, and at the end of the day, if you're not evolving, you're pretty much losing out on opportunities. So we always talk about what's the next step. What's the next? Carlos, maybe you should try to paint this, or how are you feeling about this look, or what's the next promotional material that Collyn you could help shoot, because on that side now that's something that we want to create together. So we don't look at it as the commercial or the consumerism, because we already figured out that if we work together, we're already going to attract the masses, because we both have our viewers, or we already have our people who appreciate our work. So now we can just do this for us.
Right. There could be a part B to this interview because we don't have that much time left, and I have a lot more questions. So, as quickly as you can, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. So there's artists out there, they say, well, I'd really like to start selling my work. How do I get started? As you can see, we're running out of time, so in a very short period of time, can you just sort of highlight what you think, is social media important? Just what you think they should be thinking about and starting to do.
I think social media is very important. I think the biggest advice I can give anybody is just make it for yourself, and if it sells, it sells. If you're too concerned about selling it, I feel like a lot of times, that's where you get your heart broken, you know what I mean? Because not everybody can afford expensive art,
So separate your love of this piece, or don't be too sensitive.
Yeah.
Thick skin. Keep it moving.
Yeah, and just keep creating. You know what I mean? Don't stop because somebody's not buying your piece. Just keep creating. Just keep because one day those people are gonna look back and be like, man, I should have got that piece, back then, and just keep creating, man. Don't worry. I feel like don't worry about the money. The money's gonna come. Just keep creating.
You mentioned community, building community. Can you expand on that?
Community to me is important because that's how you get the buy-in. So if you don't put anything out into the world, you can't expect the buy-in back. So I think community is big. That's why in the gallery we try to create this creative space that's inviting to others, so because we just want, we have all good intentions for other artists and our community, and that's why we do the community work that we do, so that it's just a creative cycle. You got to put in so you can get back.
So participate in the arts.
Get out there.
This is not a big, large metropolitan like Charlotte or Atlanta. But even here, begin by participating, Networking.
Yeah, networking, post.
Meet
I mean, social
people.
media is like the
Yeah.
biggest tool right now. So just keep posting.
Okay.
Post it.
Present
Well,
yourself.
Yeah, present
We've
yourself.
run out of time, and I had like many other questions, but really quickly, where do you each see yourself in 10 years, and then we'll make it a wrap.
10 years.
Let's say 10
10
years.
years.
10 years. I mean,
Let's
if
do 5
everything-
years.
Yeah, if everything works out. I mean, I'm trying to be a world-renowned artist.
Exactly.
You know, so,
Yeah, mass audience.
yeah, mass audience. Yeah.
And what about you?
I'm trying to have this large creative community-based space to
Gotcha,
cultivate everything, all mediums, and at some shape, some form, just be this creative space that, you know, puts the opportunities out there.
Yeah.
And
Well, we're lucky to have you in our community. And I thank you for joining me.
thank you.
I'm sorry we ran out of time, and I thank everyone for joining us.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Thank you, Soni.